Hi,
Lydia, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good. Apologies, a little bit late.
That's okay.
Been on the school run and traffic a little bit mental. So I thought I was going to be doing it from my gym, but yeah, just made it back home in time.
Well, listen, better late than never. I don't mind. So, how's things? How's everything been going on? Bit of a weird year.
Oh, crazy year, crazy year. I mean, don't think anybody anywhere in anything, walk or life, could have anticipated this year. But you try to make a positive out of these things if that is possible. I was meant to fight earlier on in June, and obviously it got cancelled because of lockdown, the first lockdown. I've just been training. That's all I've been doing, Lydia. Just like living like a monk in the gym, working hard, and yeah, just giving it 100%. Trying to work on a few things, and that's it really.
Has the training, obviously, there's a lot of fighters in this climate that, it's so up and down, it's so undecided. Will they get a run out? Are they just going to be like settled till next year? Everyone who had big plans, they've had to shelve them or they've had to kind of accommodate the fighting with no audiences. So for you, in terms of obviously you're an extremely motivated person, very self-motivated, but how has it been, doing that training and kind of saying, well, I might not get a run out for the rest of this year?
It's don't get me wrong, I'm only human, and it has been difficult at certain times. There's been times like we think, oh, do I really need to go out and do this run? What's it for? Normally, as a fighter, you're aiming towards a certain date. But with that being said, um, we haven't known the situation, how long lockdown's going to last, how long sports return and all that stuff. So it's been up a bit in the air for that. So I've just carried on training just in case something did come at short notice, just in case they said, right, you know what, you're going on behind closed doors. I've just kept myself busy and I've just kept myself fit. And, I'm at the peak of my careers. So it's a good opportunity to just work on a few things that you probably don't get a chance to work on.
Absolutely. I mean, and at the start of this year, obviously the big news and before COVID hit was that you returned to Matchroom and the Unification fight. So a massive big year, and the fans were, as expected, extremely excited for what was going to happen. So when we look at kind of, that those big massive fights and the Unification fights, there was talk early this year that Eddie was saying that maybe we'd look at it for behind closed doors without fans. And, there's a lot of talk on social media with your fans being like, oh, that's the fight that we want to be there for. We need to be there. So for you, where do you sit with the fighting behind closed doors?
Yeah, it's an hard one really because, like you say, you got to get used to it, and we've already seen that some big fights have taken place behind closed doors. Myself, I'm used to thousands of nutters, lots of energy, lots of noise, and to take all that away and then all of a sudden just be like in an empty arena or an empty studio fighting, it would be a little bit weird. But at the start of lockdown, I thought to myself, we'll just ride it out, we'll wait on, we need the fans to be there. Obviously, these events, you want people to be there because they don't come round often. And for people who have been following my career for a very long time, they've seen everything from English titles, British titles, Commonwealth titles in the small shows to the big stadium fights and everything else. So to miss out on that would be hard. And I wanted to hold on to make that possible. Maybe they could be there, but it's been over a year now since I've been in the ring, and my last fight was a round and a half. So I need to be back, and I'm getting to
Mm.
now where I've kind of accepted that the next time I'll be in the ring will be behind closed doors. But with that being said, there's talks of a vaccine coming on, and fans could be back in some small capacity. So we'll just wait and see. But to answer your question, Lydia, going around the houses, I have kind of got into my head that it may be behind closed doors, and that's what it is.
Well, obviously, you mentioned the impact that the fans have on your career and how important I imagine they have been to your career, like any fighter that has that massive support. But when you look at obviously there's a massive Leeds contingent, with you being the first Leeds world champion, and there's a massive kind of heritage that goes with that. Ew. But, why do you think that fans are so passionate about Josh Warrington?
Just because as the fan base has got bigger and bigger over the years, I've always tried to keep my feet on the ground, so to speak. You know, I've always tried to keep in contact with as many fans as possible, and you know, it's not. You know, it's not possible to speak to every single one of them and know everybody's name by first name basis, because John might go to one fight, but then he might not go to the next three. But in his position, somebody else might go instead. But over the years, what I've done is gone like to certain areas. For instance, if 300 had come from a certain pub or certain area in Leeds, and I've gone over to that pub and I've spent a day in there, you know, just thanking people for coming over, and I've built like a personal relationship. And it's no longer them just looking at it as like a thing. It's not just Josh Warrington the thing or a brand or whatever. It's our pal Josh Warrington, and
Mm.
and that kind of builds in a personal relationship. So when they're in the stands, it's like, listen, we've been speaking to him before, and he's well up for this. We know how hard he's trained, and they've got to come there with me. So that's why they're so passionate. I mean, if you was going to watch one of your family members, I'm sure you'd be screaming your heart out for them. You want them to succeed and do really well, and that's the same for majority of my fans. All right, there's might be a few people who've just got on board and they've started following me because of they've seen me in the news or whatever. But a lot of them have just been there from day one and very, very loyal. And one good thing is when word spreads and people speak very highly of you in person, then you don't get better any seller than that.
Well, I'd heard this story that like at the start of your career, you would just like walk up to people and kind of like sell yourself almost, maybe like, oh, I'm fighting, and, putting up posters. And it's kind of this, we're sort of in an age now where social media is so huge and it's so impactful on fighters' careers. And a lot of fighters just kind of rely on social media alone. So
Mm-hmm.
to kind of, for you, like when you look back like 10, 12, 15 years ago, whatever it was when you started out as a pro, to be like going around to your local communities and sticking up posters, and there's just such an organic sort of really lovely kind of element to it, that it was just kind of, it's all encompassing, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so. And when I started going about, social media were really, really taking off, and I was a little bit late to getting Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. And for years and years, I'd cringe at doing things like, like, "Hi guys, come to my fight," and all that stuff. I'd that, and I was probably too shy to do that. Whereas you stick me in a pub with with a big circle of load of guys around, and I'm comfortable doing that, which is a little bit crazy to be honest with you. But yeah, I think that's the way that I do it, and maybe it's a lesson for fellow fighters out there who want to grow the fan base. It's quite easy to sit at home and say, oh yeah, I can come to my fight, but there's that many other people doing it these days. Be unique, be bespoke, go and meet people face to face, shake their hand. Obviously, social distance these days. Please speak to people face to face, look in their eyes. Let them see your emotion, let them see your energy. That's what the way that I did it. I'd go down to the Leeds United matches because I'm a Leeds United fan, and I might be one of my pals, and somebody might say, "Oh, you used to go to a lot of fights, didn't you? A lot of boxing." Yeah, I like watching boxing. Hey, this is my pal Josh. He does a bit of boxing. Oh dear, Josh, what do you do? And then all of a sudden, you're talking to this man. He's bringing three of his pals along, and then it kind of works like that. But like I say, with a more personal touch, going around areas, putting up posters in takeaway shops, on odd lampposts and things like that, and you're putting them out there. Oh, who's that? Is that you? Oh, that's me. Yeah. And then you've got personal engagement rather than this just thing on a mobile phone screen, because that
Mhm.
can be anybody. And I don't think it just has that much connection because there's so much out there. It's just easy to just scroll past.
It's a really good point, and I suppose aside from the sort of notoriety of social media, or the promotional side, are you lucky that when you started your career, you got to sort of do it in a more kind of private way, I suppose, in that when we look at social media now and the rise of like a new fighter that just makes their pro debut, before they've even had their pro debut, they've got a profile, they've got like a 5 minute like show reel, you know what I mean? It's like the cinematic entrance, the whole thing. There's like a massive pressure, and it's this fast track to superstardom, but you got to do it organically.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I got the chance to do it organically was because I did things the long way around. so to speak. So you know, and I never came off like no development squad. You know, I didn't have sponsors coming at my backside. I didn't have videographers. I didn't have people running my social media. I mean, the bloody me old fella. That was it. That was the time. I worked a 9 to 5 job as a dental technician. I was studying at Leeds University around the same time. You know, I'm trying to have a relationship with my pals, a relationship with my now wife, and it's like, how do you balance all them things up in you know this in well in just 1 week? It's impossible. As well as trying to be a professional fighter and sell yourself, but it kept me grounded. You know, it kept me grounded. It kept me grounded, like going to work and then, you know, going to the gym and then you're going back to work the next day. You're speaking to normal human beings rather than, you know, oh yeah, I'm a professional boxer.
Yeah.
I go into work after fights, and then on the Monday morning I'd be still doing sandwich run at lunchtime. I remember, and it kept me grounded. Like I remember fighting for European title, and I carried on working right up until being European champion. I was still driving a battered Ford Fiesta, and you know, delivery people were coming into the lab where I worked as a dental technician saying, "I'm sure I've seen your face before. We want to see you on weekend." I went, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I was. What are you doing here?" Like, "Oh, it's my day job, mate. It's my day job." You know, like, "Oh, yeah, you're crazy," but you know, I think things like that just keep you in reality, keep you in the real. You know, sometimes a lot of these young fighters are coming through with, like, say, you've got all these profiles and these, you know, big show reels and that. They're not in touch with the day to day, and people who pay their hard-earned cash to buy your tickets off you are the everyday people. So, and so are we. Don't become that. Don't lose sight of what that is.
Well, there's this massive misconception now, you know, with this new age of new fighter, that it's impossible to work a full-time job and be a professional fighter. But you're complete proof that that's not true.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've got to be honest with Lydia. It was hard. It was
Yeah.
hard, but what is life? You know, life is hard. You know, nothing comes easy. Now, I don't want to become all one of them motivational speakers and on into this, I know. But if anything, if you want it bad enough, then you'll work hard enough and you'll go through anything to get there. And that's what I did. You know, it's and I set myself little goals. You know, a lot of these fighters who we've just been talking about, they have aspirations with all the mob and the entourage that they're going to be a world champion before they've even thrown a professional punch. Just start slow, man. You know, people have these goals of like, I'm going to do this, and that is good to have aspirations, but it takes a while to get there. It takes a while. Just enjoy the process. Go through the levels. I started mine small, British champion. I mean, it's not small. It's still quite a massive feat to
Yeah.
get champion. But I invested, like, I put aside 10 years. I have 10 years there to get a British title. I got it within 2.5 years of being a professional. But it's on to the next goal then. Wow, what's after that? European. What's after that? International. What's after that? World. Start slowly, you know. Like I say, I had something to fall back on with the job. You know, being a dental technician whilst being a European champion, headlining shows on Sky Sports, and then having 10,000 in an arena behind you, and then going back to work just like a regular human being. It's not normally heard of these days, but it works for me. And if listen, sometimes money doesn't grow on trees, and I think a lot of fighters will have seen during this year that it's been hard to fight on the shows. If you're a small old fighter, you are getting them paydays. Well, who's going to pay bills? You know, and that's what I looked at it. If I got injured or if I got beaten in the early stage of my career, I need someone to fall back on. And I think sometimes that little bit of a comfort blanket isn't a bad thing.
But I imagine it, although it must have been a comfort blanket, it must have been a little bit, probably even more difficult, because you had an option there outside of boxing that was like paying your rent, paying your way. I imagine you were doing it for so long, so there was probably opportunity to progress in that as well. And then you've achieved somewhat of something great within boxing. So it would have been totally, you know, understandable if you said, "Look, I've done my bit, and then I'm going to like pack it in and I'm going to head off and do this full-time job and live my life and be happy." So the fact that you know, you chose boxing over that and you went on to achieve what you did is even more incredible, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, boxing is my passion, Lydia. I love boxing. I'm a boxing fan as well as a boxer. I've been doing it since I was 7 years old, and I think the way that I fell into being a dental technician, it were to help boxing. You know, if I was to call boxing a day, then I would have probably changed my career. I don't know, because I was moving up well in the world of dental technology. You know, I was better and better in the stages I was with my job, and you know, I was climbing the ladder, but at the same time I was climbing the ladder with the boxing as well, and boxing was my first love, and that's what I really wanted to succeed. And I've got to say a massive thank you to, and I always do, to my boss at the time, Phil Reddington, and the company Beaver Dental. You know, he turned around and said to me, he said, Josh, low battery. He turned around and said to me, he said, Josh, you know what, it's only a small window of opportunity. I want you to go out there and give it all you got. If it don't work, he said, there's a seat here waiting for you. So I'm very, very grateful for that opportunity to be able to do that. But I had to chase it then, and that was 5 years ago since I stopped working, like early 2015. Since then, you know, sponsors have come on board, and then the fights have got bigger and bigger, and financially, I've been able to leave the job away like completely. But I always wanted to be a boxer, but didn't do that without at least, you know, having a good safety net and being certain that we could, or it would be worth going and giving the boxing 100%, giving all my time and energy to boxing. But it was weird making that transition. I've got to be honest with you, because at one point, like I say, I was running before work, going to work, coming home, training, then having some food, getting into bed, and then doing the same, and then squeezing day in university, and then all of a sudden I get up, go for a run, and then come back home like, what do I do now? But like I say, if you know, the hardships, they are worth it because it builds your resilience. Life goes on, and you come up with other challenges. You're like, whoa, I've been through this. I've grown thick skin. I know what I'm capable of getting through. And for myself, going up through the levels of the boxing, getting onto these harder fights, well, I'm more than ready for it. I'm more than ready for it.
But that mentality, Josh, of saying I'm more than ready for it. You know, when fans look at your career and they see 30, you know, they see all the belts, they see all the accolades that you've acquired. You know, when you break it down and when you look at you as, we'll say, the individual, where do you feel that you got this desire to be great, or this want to be, you know, as good as you are?
I've still asked myself that question, Lydia. I still ask myself that question. I used to think that everyone had it. I guess
Yes.
sometimes I think like I think back as a kid, and I always wanted to win. I always wanted to better myself. I always wanted to be best at whatever I tried it. Whether it were I was in school and we were doing a maths test, I wanted to have the highest results or the best marks. Not that I were like any good at school or anything else. My answer, I always wanted to be the best. I wanted to be the best footballer. I'm absolutely dog shite, but I tried, you know. A lot better in my head than what I was on playing the game, but it just was that. And I like I say, boxing was my love from being a young age, and whilst I was ever doing the sport, I was always going to give it 100%. And as the fights have gone on, you know, and tick them little boxes, like I said earlier, them little goals. Like I remember winning the British title, and that was my first goal, and thinking, I've done it now, but I've still got more to give. What's next? So you set that next goal towards getting that goal, tick that box, but I feel like I've still got more. I've worked harder in the gym than I have in these fights, and I'm picking up these titles. Now, the difference between European and world is there's quite a gap. All the other belts are like that. Then the world is like, there's some really, really good fighters at that level. And it was just a case for me. Now, got to give absolutely everything. You know, what will it take to be great? What will it take? And that's just been little things of inner drive, inner desire, being my worst critic, having good set of people around me who have not been like yes men, not there to lick my ass, not there to pat me on back when I don't deserve a pat. People like, you know, I've had my old fella, me now people might think, oh, that's a luxury. It's not whatsoever.
Yeah.
When family is involved in work, it is never easy. You know, the amount of arguments and the amount of times we fell out on birthdays and other occasions when we're celebrating because something's happened in the boxing. It's been hard, but he's been open and he's been honest with me. And if he said that I've done something wrong, he's given it to me and he's given it to me like good. You know, he's given real good coating. My pals have always been open and honest. You know, before the world title fight, they'd be like saying, "Listen, you better be training because if you don't get training, you're going to get levered at Ellen Road. You're going to get pals." And you know, some people that might not suit everybody, but for me, it worked. Because like, right, you know, you are invincible. You know, you've got to keep yourself grounded and make sure you're working hard because there's somebody out there who's going to be working just as hard as you. And
Yeah.
when it comes to the night, you've got to make sure that you've done absolutely everything possible that you can do to win. And that is just it. I think once that first bell goes, if you've done everything, then you've been honest with yourself and it is what it is. But if you haven't, then man, that'll haunt you. And it's a lonely place to be when that first bell goes, believe me.
Where does it hit you? Like when are the moments where you sit back and go, I can't believe I've actually achieved all this?
I try not to do that, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah,
Ever?
try not to do that, to be honest with you. I mean, I've got my world title belt down here in my office. It's just in a case. That's it. Like my plan is, like when I retire, is to have all my belts on display. But at this moment in time, they're just in cases because I don't want to get merry. I don't want to get cozy. You know, I've got like,
Yeah.
I've got my European, my international titles here just outside. I've got a few posters up here in my office, just like of the Carlframpton fight and.
Yeah, so good. That's brilliant. Wow.
But but that's it. That's the only bit of boxing stuff I've got really up in the house because I just think I don't want to be cozy. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to like, well, that's it. I've done now. You know, put my feet up and you know get all cushy. I want to add more memories like that to my career, to my legacy, and I want to win more belts. So you know, there's been times where I might find myself watching back some old fights and think, wow, that wasn't a bad performance. But then I'll think, could have done that a bit better. Could have been that a bit better. That's what I think. You know, I think that's what keeps me hungry and it makes me get up and go to the gym and like, right, I need to do this better. I need to do that better. Not certainly try to be a perfectionist, but better myself. You know,
Yeah.
but when the day comes that I hang them gloves up, I say, you know what, I give it absolutely everything, and I did the best I could, and not say that, oh well, I should have gone and done that run, but I'm watching I'm a Celebrity. You know, really that bad, but it was really nice. You know, just be up and honest with myself, and I don't think you can ask for more than that.
Well, final question before we have a look at the fan questions or what they want to ask you. But when you mentioned, hanging up the gloves, and obviously if we look at it, unifying and hitting every target or every goal that you want for the rest of your career, do you ever worry that desire to win, the competitive streak, the desire to be the kind of champion mentality, do you ever worry that you'll still have that after boxing? Or do you feel like once you've put your all in, you'll happily hang up the gloves and that'll be it, it'll leave you?
Um, it's hard to say because I'm not in that scenario, but I'd like to think that it'll still be there. You know,
Mm.
and I'll carry that on into something else, whether that be training, being a trainer myself, or into a business or whatever, because I've got other things going on outside of boxing, and I don't think that would leave me. To be fair, it just depends how the initial months are after boxing, because I've said that when I'm retired, I might just like balloon up and become 20 stone and have about 20 chins and stuff like that. But nah, I think that fire's always been there and always will be.
Great answer. Okay, I'm just going to take a couple questions from your fans that have been watching. They want to ask you a couple of things. So there's a question here from Ollie Massey, and he's asked, Josh, have you got any advice for up-and-coming amateur fighters that are struggling to get fights right now?
Right, okay, I understand this is very difficult for the amateur game, and I understand it's even more so difficult when you see the recent news from the government that fundings and
Yeah.
things like that. Clubs are struggling, and we don't know when amateur boxing is going to return. What I would say is if boxing is your passion, don't lose hope, mate. Don't lose sight. This is a time to train. This is a time to work on things behind closed doors. I know it's difficult where you might not be able to spar, but you can, and you might not be able to even to get to the gym. But if you can get a mirror, if you can get a piece of chalk, get in the garden, draw some lines, work on your footwork. Shadow box is one of the best things you can do. You know, Cubans talk about, you know, you see Cuban fighters, all they do is work on shadow box all day, every day, work on them combinations, work on them religiously. You know, you see the greats of footballing, you know, your likes of Cristiano Ronaldo. They say that he was taught maybe an hour a day, and then the rest of it was his own doing. So his step overs, you know, his juggling, everything like that, it was done on his own basis. You know, David Beckham, one of the greatest free kick takers to play for England. He'd be there after training, just pinging the balls. That was his own doing, not his trainers telling him to. He was doing it off his own. If you're out there and you're an amateur boxer and you're struggling to get in the gym, just make what you can at home. If you can get it, order some equipment, a punch bag, then fantastic. But if not, you know, there's roads, there's fields. You can do your running, get them fitness levels high. You can shadow box, like I say, work on certain things, and who knows, when you return back to gym, people like saying, "Woo!" As an amateur boxer, I went through not having a fight for around 15 months. I was always small for a young lad. I was 15 years of age, and I was like 38 kilos. And then, you know, I had a bit of a transition where I had a bit of a growth spurt, and all of a sudden I was like 52 within, you know, like 12 months or so. And it was still very small, but I was able to get more and more fights. But in that transition, I won't get in much fights, and that was difficult. But it gave me a chance to work on a few things, and like I say, do that, it pays dividends.
Great answer. Great answer. This is from Marcus Flynn, and he's asked, you spoke openly in the past about your relationship working with your dad. How would you feel if the shoe was on the other foot and your daughters asked you to do the same for them?
That is a very good question. I think I'd struggle. I think I'd struggle to watch them. I'm going to be supportive, Dad, and if as they get older, and if they want to don the gloves, then who am I to say no? You know, I'll probably give my opinion on that. But if that is their love and their passion, then I'll have to support that. And you know, I wouldn't want to interfere too much. I've got to be honest, it'll be hard. You know, I struggle watching my gym mates fight. I struggle watching my good pals fight. To see family fight, I don't know if I could watch, to be honest with you. I don't know how family does it, but yeah, I could only support them if that's what they wanted to.
Absolutely. That's a good answer. That's a good answer. Colleen has asked, who is your current favourite boxer to watch?
Oh, wow. Now that is good answer, because I'm a boxing fan, you know. I'm a boxing fan. I mean,
well, you know, people will be surprised to hear that, because I'm always very surprised at the amount of boxers who don't actually watch fights.
Yeah, I know.
That they've no longer had that kind of desire to be that fan because they're so consumed with their own careers.
Oh. Oh. Hey, say a quick hello, right? And then you go.
Hi.
Hello.
What's your name?
You like the BBC interview?
She's coming in to tell you she's going to fight. She wants to fight, Dad. That's it.
Far too young. That's one of two. I've got twins. Yeah, good question. You know, I enjoy watching. I enjoy watching all fighters. To be honest with you, I enjoy watching like at the highest level. Inoue is very entertaining to watch. I love watching Inoue. You know, technically very good, aggressive. I love watching likes of the fighters coming through, like Conor Benn.
Yeah, great fight the other week.
What a performance! You know, he's putting on. I like watching. You know, those British fighters doing the dates. Josh Taylor is another one, entertaining one, absolutely fantastic, entertaining, brilliant skill set. You know, listen, there's a lot of fans out there who are quick to jump on, you know, other British fighters and give them a lot of criticism. But listen, we're booming at this moment in time.
Tell
British
you.
has never been as healthy. You know, when I was coming through and when I was growing up, it was all in the States, and it used to be the odd man like Ricky Hatton and Carl Zaggy, who were an odd fighter like that. It were the hope of bringing back a title. Now we've got, you know, unified champions over here. And people who are daring to go on and create big legacies. Callum Smith going over to take Canelo throne. So any fighter, British title, British fighter, sorry, who's daring to be great, whets my appetite.
Absolutely. Great answer. Great answer. Okay, we'll take one or two more and then I'll let you go. This is a good question. And I like this question because my team are number one at the moment. But how do you feel about Leeds in the Premier League right now? What are you, like 12th or something?
We're doing all right. Who do you follow?
Spurs.
Ah, yeah. We'll show you some football when we play. Do you know what? I've got to be. I can't argue. I'm happy. I'm happy. We've come into the Premier League and everyone's talking about us. You know, some good, some bad. More good than ever. People winning fans over, winning fans of other teams over. People like watching the Bielsa ball. They love watching the type of football we're playing. You know, we're not just getting stick for us fans and whatnot. We're getting.
Well, I will give you, Bielsa is an incredible coach.
He is.
Incredible coach.
And you know, let me tell you, as a Leeds United fan, the transition has been absolutely crazy. I mean, from 3 years ago, before I had my world title fight, I think we'd finished like 15th or something in that season. Not a great season whatsoever. And then all of a sudden, Bielsa comes over, and we're like, it's like watching Barcelona, unbelievable football there. So yeah, it's been good, and we've had some good results, good performances. So it's just a massive shame that obviously the fans can't be there to witness that firsthand. A lot of fans have waited a long, long time, and Ellen Road, when it's rocking, is an absolute fortress. But yeah, I'm happy so far of the way things have been.
Good stuff. Okay, very last question, and then I'll let you get off. It's from Shane Arrowsmith, and he's asked, who was one of your biggest inspirations growing up that you finally got to meet as a pro fighter?
That's a good question. That is a good question, because I find inspiration from anyone and everyone. You don't have to be a big famous superstar for me to find inspiration. You know, if someone came into school with a cup from winning a game on Sunday League football, I'd be like, wow, I want to feel that success. I want to feel that glory. You know, so used to take inspiration from anybody. But as a young lad, I always liked watching Marco Antonio Barrera. My dad introduced me to the trilogy of Eric Morales and Barrera fights when I was a young lad, and he was like, "Hey, lad, watch these are proper fighters here." And Stowe, Hammer and Tong, not just slugging it out, but throwing 6-7 accurate punch combinations with uppercuts, hooks, right hands, same hand combinations, 3 shots with same hands, and then bouncing off each other's chin, and they're still going forward. You know, full on Mexican pride. And then I met him a few years of being pro, and I would have been a little bit like, that would have been a real moment. I've met Floyd. He had a crazy aura around him. I'm proud to say I'm on first name basis with Ricky, and I've had a pint of Guinness with Ricky Hatton. You know, grew up watching Ricky. And
Josh, Dean from Empire Pro Tape. Our brand partners. He sent me a picture the other day with Ricky in a Fight Connect TV t-shirt, and I cried for 45 minutes solid. Like I could not. I just turned into like a 12-year-old again. It was just so special.
Yeah, this is it. They're always going to be heroes in your eyes, I guess. But I think a lot of people, like Ricky, it's weird because he is just a human being, as you get to realize that. But I still see him as this vicious body puncher, changing angles, which crazy. He's a massive fan base behind him, and destroying people. But he's just a normal guy.
How does it make you feel knowing that you will now experience that people will look at Josh Warrington like that and do already?
Yeah, I have to tell him, listen, I'm just a weirdo, mate. I'm just a normal guy. don't don't see me as anybody else. I don't know. I feel like I contradict myself a little bit there because I know what you're saying. I look at some other people like, wow, look who that is. I think
Hmm.
to realize that we are all human. Like, for instance, I may have like pinpointed other footballers, for instance, even former Leeds players saying, "Oh, he was absolutely dog shite him on weekend." But then I'm now looking at it from a different point of view that
Yeah.
we're athletes, yeah, we compete in the public eye, but at the same time, we're all human beings, and we've got lives, away from this. And even if you do live the life and you train and you're dedicated, people have relationships. Family members pass away. You might have just had a newborn baby, and that might have kept you up all night, and you've still got to go perform.
Hmm.
You feel off it some days. It's just people might say it's the weather. These things happen, and you've still got to compete. So I look at things a little bit different. But some people sometimes say to me, "Oh, you're a legend. Oh, you're this and over. Oh, look at yeah, oh, man." Try to be the same old person because the thing is, I remember meeting a fight a boxer in. I'm not going to say names, but I remember meeting a boxer who was probably an area champion back when I was a young lad, and I was pretty shy. I wanted to go over and get a picture. I mean, the guy didn't have two minutes for anybody, and I'm like, you know what? If that's ever me in the future, I'd always want to, um, give people the credit and the thank you because in the day, without fans, who are we? Without
Absolutely.
people watching this video, without people paying that and money, professional sports people, we do our bit, we entertain, but are we really heroes when you compare it to nurses and doctors working 12-hour shifts and people are running in five? You know what I mean? Well, look at it anyway.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that. But you are a little bit of a legend, so we'll let you away with it though.
But
Well, listen, thank you so much for your time, Josh. I really appreciate it. That was fantastic. Thank you so much.
I enjoyed that. So, thanks very much and appreciate the sport. Thank you.
No problem. Talk to you soon. Take it easy. Thanks, Josh. Bye bye.